All right, looks like we're on the air. I'm Joe Hyde with San Angelo Live. We're at the special report for the May 4th, 2024 election. I'm joined with my co-host, Yantis Green, and also politics analyst, who's been analyst. But we have some results already. And we're the only guys in town that have the results because we're that good.
And we came on the air just as soon as we got them, and they are interesting. So we'll get to those immediately. In the police chief race, what do we have, Joe?
Looks like Mike Hernandez is going to do pretty well. Now, this, when I look at early voting and the mail-in voting, that's what we have right now. That's a pretty large convenience sample of the population. I rarely have seen anyone, when they come in with that kind of a lead, lose their lead when the election day results come in. When you're in the citywide, countywide races, when you're in the 200-300 vote spread, where are we at right now? 200-300?
Yeah.
No, 400. We're about 400. He's like 2158 to 1710. I think it's going to be very hard for Travis Griffith to overcome that in election day. I think it is. But it looks like Mike Hernandez is got a commanding lead.
Mike does have a commanding lead right now. Travis has a pretty good showing. We expected that. I think that
now, you said that Travis was going to win all the social media votes.
I said that Travis was very active on social media, and we would see if social media had an impact on this race, and it hasn't in the past, and it doesn't look like it's had an impact on early voting. Now, what happens on election day? We didn't have rain that kept people away from the polls today. They were open for 8 hours for the most part. It was how can you get out the vote? So we'll see what election day results are like. But normally, you're right, this kind of gap is really hard to close on election day.
And the other thing about it is, we're looking at possibly needing a runoff, right? Because we had 3 candidates in it. And that would require Chris Cimino to do a little bit better showing than what he's done. He's really not being a factor in this race at all.
That's true. And he didn't campaign traditionally, and one of his points was to tell people not to vote for him, to look at the candidates and vote for the guy that they thought was most qualified. From doing this for 20 or 30 years, I can tell you that you never tell people not to vote for you.
No. I learned that, and I was running for student counselor or something like that when I was in junior high school.
Yeah.
And I pulled that out, and the teacher took me aside and said, "Don't you ever run for office and tell people not to vote for you because you're wasting their time. Why would you even put yourself out there if you don't want people to vote for you?" And the other thing the teacher told me was, if you run for office, you better vote for yourself.
That's very true. Very true. You need every vote you can get, and if you're not going to vote for yourself, don't get in the race. Yeah,
that's the way I see it. But anyway, so Cimino's not going to be a factor. It's going to be a head-to-head with Mike Hernandez versus Travis Griffith. Whoever wins that head-to-head, which it looks like Mike Hernandez will win the head-to-head, is going to be the next police chief of the city of San Angelo.
That's what early voting looks like, absentee. These are, of course, the preliminary results. Again, we'll see what happened from Tuesday through Election Day. If Travis was able to drum up a whole lot more support and get people to vote on Election Day. That was today. We'll see as the results come in tonight if he can close that gap.
And leave that up there for a second, James. We have some other results in. Yantis, we were talking about the Cristoval ISD bond. That's Proposition A. It looks like it's passing.
Yes, that does. Looks like it's passing. Like 56% to 43%. That's a pretty good indication that the folks out in Cristoval are supporting that. Bond.
But here's the interesting thing: on early voting, in-person early voting, it was 60% for, 40% against. But in the mail-in ballots, it was 62% against and 37% for, 38% for. So they flip-flop between the two. Now, this one might be something to see if what election day might decide, what happens here. But overall, right now, we're looking at, it's got a pretty good margin of error, right, or margin, 56.6 to 43.4 of passing, which means for the first time since 1905, Cristobal ISD is going to have maybe an upgraded new elementary school.
They've got a shot at making some really good improvements, and I couldn't be happier for the folks out in Cristobal.
All right, Board of Trustees at Wall ISD. These are very initial stuff that I'm getting in, and it's really hard to get because we're looking at a small screen and we're old, right?
That's true.
But you have Crystal Braden running against Houston Guy, they're all running. There's 5 of them, and you vote for none, 1 or 2.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that means we're going to have 2 of these. So it'd be the the 2 that get the highest amount of votes between Crystal Braden, Houston Guy, Chris Holtman, Kevin Ripple, and Doug Wieldy. And it looks like, I'm looking over here. Looks like we got 2 of them. They're looking pretty good. Doug Wieldy and Houston Guy. And Houston Guy has the most at 35%. Wieldy's down there at 32%. So.
And those are the 2 guys that we mentioned earlier who are actually advertising, bought billboards, bought yard signs, and we'll see if that continues through Election Day.
And you can take that down. We haven't gotten the graphics. We don't have enough people here.
We're catching up.
So if you want to work in internet news production, we're hiring. So, but I think the election is going on pretty good, pretty much how I expected to.
I think so.
Although I thought the bond would fail.
Well, I was optimistic about the bond. I did think that that the Griffith and Hernandez race would be closer. I really did, a little bit closer. Because of all of the activity on social media, specifically Facebook, and how prolific his supporters were, and
how mean they were. That's what you're saying. I can say that. You guys attack me viciously just for reporting the news, but that's okay. I have thick skin and an armor.
But there was a lot of traffic specifically about this race. A lot of people very passionate about it, and that goes back to being the only city that still elects a police chief, and that has an effect on the department. It will have an effect going forward.
We have something breaking right now. What's going on? Flip over there. All right, there we go. We have we're starting to get our CGI to catch up with us.
Yeah, they're the early voting numbers. Again, Houston Guy leading, Doug Wieldy right behind him, and then Curtis Holtman would be the person in third place, taking the top 2 out of those numbers.
So Houston Guy will likely be, I guess, you can't say fired football coach, but I guess they did kind of fire him from being a football coach, but they didn't fire him from the school district.
Well, no, he's just the former football coach.
Okay, pushed out football coach is going to take over. I mean, he's going to be on the school board now.
He's going to be on the school board.
And, I wonder if he's going to get up there and do something good, or is he going to go up there and take revenge?
Well, I think that what you're gonna see is the reality would set in, and the reality is you've got to have 4 votes out of the 7 people sitting on that board to get anything done.
That's true. So he's got to work. He's got to work the system.
He has to work with the people that voted to put him where he is right now.
But is he there for the right reasons?
Now that is up to the future. That's up
we
to
shall
them.
see. Which he probably. I mean, Houston has always been the most gracious man to. I've known him for a long time, so I think he'll be all right. I brought those questions up because those are the questions that you heard out in the streets,
right?
Right. So, but it looks like it didn't matter because they're going to vote him in the school board.
Well, and you still got all the votes to be counted today. So,
and we got some more. We got something else coming up. There it goes. There we go. For the bond, against the bond. Is that what we're looking at?
There we are. Yeah, it's 133 for and 102 against. Still a pretty good gap, but election day is election day. That with turnout, less than 300 votes, it could still go either way. But right now, it looks like it's going to pass.
Can I tell you my election turnout story from today?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone's worried about election turnout, and they always get mad because we have 65,000 people who can vote in the city or whatever it is, whatever the number is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm driving in from Lubbock, and I saw this big sign up in Grape Creek. It said, "Vote here," right?
Yep.
I said, "Honey, we need to go over there and vote." So we pulled over into the Grape Creek ISD administration building right there off of 87.
Yep. It used to be the Chimney Rock Steakhouse.
Is that really?
And then it was a bank. Yep.
Anyway, we walked in, very easy, and there's 4 very nice people there to help us, and we went through the process and got our ballots. And of course, Tom Green County votes we vote in what's called voting centers, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of, what do you call it, controversial, because the conservatives think this is a way to, rig elections by using voting centers. But voting centers allow you, even though if I live down on the south side of town, I can vote all the way up there in Grape Creek.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what voting center I go to, because I could be at work on the other side of town and still be able to vote. I don't have to do a pilgrimage down to Knickerbocker
Yes.
to cast my ballot. So I walked in there. There's 4 election workers in there, bless their hearts. And I asked them, I said, how many people voted today? It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. He says, well, you guys are number 3 and number 4.
Yes.
So the turnout was terrible in Grape Creek. But then you have to think also, Grape Creek has nothing on the ballot.
That's exactly right.
I mean, if someone from Grape Creek walked into the Grape Creek ISD, it was voting station number 7, and they had to vote. They couldn't give them a ballot because they can't vote for police chief, they can't vote for the Cristobal bond, and they can't vote for the Wall School Board. There's nothing for them to vote for. Yeah,
that's one of the quirks of the law, is that when you have voting centers, you've got to have one in each where everybody can vote. So,
so they can rig the elections, right? I'm joking. Please don't, Vonna. Please don't shoot me.
I was going to say, Vonna, in our primary election, we had one election that was within one vote, and that was for Precinct 1 County Commissioner.
This was on March 4th or whatever.
On March 4th.
Yeah.
And they did a recount on that, and it was still that one vote. So they were 100% accurate election day.
And you also had
100% accurate on the recount.
You also had the constable race, which was
81 votes different, anyway, around in there, and that recount, it showed exactly the same.
And if you look at the ballots when they put it through the system, I think the system actually it gives you the chance to go back and manually count it if you were ordered to do it, if the controversy got too much. So, nothing but 3 cheers for the 4 poor election workers that had to work Grape Creek today. But I mean, I'm glad I was there to vote. It was useful.
That's how the democracy works. You got to have the polls open for 12 hours and give the folks a chance to vote, and the voters will get it right.
You think so?
I think they'll get it right. I trust the voters.
You trust the voters?
I do.
Has your trust for voters gone up or down since you were in office?
It's been the same. I mean, they're going to get it right if you just allow them the opportunity to vote.
I thought you said social media was going to decide all this.
Well, social media is one thing, but that's how you get people to the polls. That they're attempting to use social media to get people to the polls instead of just comment on posts.
Right.
And what we're seeing today is people are very vocal on social media, but they don't go vote.
There you go. I think that's probably the smartest thing you've said this entire show. They're very active on social media because you have your phone and it's very easy to click and go boom, 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 boom. But you got to get off the couch.
Yep.
Got to get off the couch. Got to go get in the car. And you got to get in the car and you got to drive to hopefully Grape Creek, right? Help those guys out and vote.
Well, and you're right. It's easy to say on a social media post, vote for my guy. You're wrong. Vote for my guy. It's another thing to physically go vote.
I don't think anyone convinces anyone of anything on social media debates. I mean, there's no change of minds there. And what people look for, I think what you're really looking for in social media is confirmation bias. That's really what they're looking for.
And name recognition, yeah.
Yeah, but big thing, for the activists out there, I mean, you can see this in the statewide, you can see this in the national, but really in the statewide races, they all want confirmation bias on X, that they're right. But there is no way they're going to convince anyone else, that thinks other than them on X. There's not a post out there that will convince them that. They're looking for things that back their assumptions up. That's it. They're not looking to change their mind.
Yeah, and there's a whole list of criteria that voting experts have gone through, and I could tell you, but I normally charge $200 an hour to do this, to tell you what gets people to vote and what will change their vote.
So what does get them to vote?
Starts with money.
What, you got to pay them? It's like New Orleans, you got to pay guys $50 each to hop on the bus and go vote?
And this is an open secret, but people vote their pocketbook. If the economy sucks, They're going to vote against the guy in office.
So you mean Biden's going to lose to Trump?
That's a whole different ballgame.
Because people are broke right now, right?
Yeah, but there's so many other factors. And first, you've got to have a free and fair election, and we're not there yet.
You don't think we're going to have a free and fair election?
I'm not convinced that that's going to happen in November.
I am not either. I am grateful that we have people in our Tom Green County Elections Office, though, because I trust them.
Yes.
I do trust, and I think we trust our local officials, but we don't trust anything beyond. I'm saying right now, after getting dove so deep into the state rep race, I mean, that was almost as dirty as heck. I mean, that was more dirty than the police department, police thing here. And you know, our police chief race does get dirty. I mean, we got a guy in jail, in federal prison. Mm-hmm. You know, and you can say, well, he did it to himself, but it was a result of these elections and how divisive they are.
Well, and that's we can certainly talk all day about whether we should have an elected police chief or not. But right now, the voters of Tom Green County, the voters of San Angelo have said, I want to elect my police chief. Yep. And that's pretty well settled.
I don't think in this political environment that anyone would give that up.
No, they won't.
I don't think they give it up 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Obviously, he didn't. No. I don't think it'll ever change. We're going to try to keep it. And the only way you're going to get an appointed chief in San Angelo, Texas, is if someone comes in and takes over the city and changes it by fiat. It means someone comes, you know, like the state of Texas came in and took over the Houston ISD, for example.
Yeah, it's not going to change anytime soon. So.
We got updated numbers. No, they're not updated. They're saying we've got to wrap this up. Right now, what we did, we came on here to tell you that Mike Hernandez has a pretty good lead in early voting, and the bond could pass or fail, but right now it's leading. Mm-hmm. And it looks like Chris Wilde? Give me help with the names.
No, Houston guy and Doug Wilde.
Doug Wilde. So Houston guy and Doug Wilde, Wall ISD, and Mr. Wilde, please forgive me. I'm terrible with names sometimes when I get on here. I get nervous, right? And I forget people's names. But that we'll be back with more once we get more solid results for the police chief race. But right now it looks like Hernandez is going to run away with it.
He certainly has a commanding lead at the moment.
Until we're back again, I'm Joe Hyde with San Angelo Live. I'm with
Yantis Green.
And we'll see you in a bit.